Hello and welcome to another episode of Om Times. I am 𝐿𝐼𝐸𝐴, a fellow sacred activations practitioner, master practitioner, and teacher. I run the sacred activations, the master sacred activations, the medical intuitive training, and soon I will also, my first master medical intuitive is actually scheduled for November. First and foremost, I want to thank Tamra and Debs. And if you're new here, get to the website TamraOviatt.com and you'll see free webinars, you'll see free things and trainings. And the next training, I believe, is Mastering the Masters, but there's regular trainings for, I think there's a whole bunch of things coming up this year. So it's super exciting. And I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to be on Om Time. So thank you, thank you. And I myself, I just finished the medical intuitive training. It was the bomb. I don't know if people know that saying. And then the master medical intuitive I'm running in November, end of November. But I do actually have a 6-week webinar series that's leading up to the 6 week is leading up to the 5D human, which is like the 5D consciousness, and that's in April. And everything's on my website. It's just 𝐿𝐼𝐸𝐴.com. So week 1 will be every week is preparing you for the 5D consciousness. So week 1 is cleansing out the cells. Week 2 is the mental and emotional, some scars and the astral body. Week 3 is the trauma and the fears and opening up to your light and freedom. Week 4 is don't just survive, but thrive. That's still my motto. Gotta thrive. May 20. And then the 5th week is spiritual gifts and opening you up to all your clairs and deepening your connections. And then the 6th week is where it gets real with all the 5D and really upping the game, because with the first 5 weeks prep you for that. So that's really exciting. That's all on my website, and it starts in April and goes for 6 weeks. Today is a topic that I'll be the first to admit that I've had to consciously work on this. And that's to be and live in the flow. There's either flow or there's friction and force. And guess where we mostly live? So to live in the flow in the dense 3D world where things we're told we have to work really hard. We're told we have to force. We're told we have to control. We're told we have to know the next step. And that's where the second part of the flow is the feminine and the masculine. And both the men and women need the balance of both masculine and feminine. But guess where we mostly live? We mostly live in the masculine. And that's where we're a little bit more controlled. We don't like the unknown. And we're very organized. So the school systems, everything's we live in a masculine world, attached to time and no unknown. God, goodness gracious, if we let go to the unknown, what happens to us? And the feminine is more that. The feminine is more letting go of the reins. The feminine is really allowing for the unknown and most importantly, the surrender to the the unknowing is the trust that the universe has your back. And most importantly, to trust yourself, knowing that you'll be okay. Now, after these two things, probably the first thing to move into the flow is to heal childhood trauma. Because as long as you're carrying all of that baggage, it's going to be really, because you could be in the trauma response. What's that? No. You can be in the trauma survival response. And when you're in trauma survival response, you're going to be fully in the masculine because you're going to be hyper aware. You're going to be wanting to control. Because when you're in trauma survival response, you don't feel safe. And I'd say most of us don't feel safe because then there's also generational trauma. I think in every episode, I've had to bring this up. And I'll add that it is part of every theme, because all the traumas and the pain that we carry in our generations before us that we're continuing, it impacts all of this upgrade, expansion to whatever. Even the flow is an upgrade. Living in the flow is living in, oh my God, it's living in the bliss state where you're not blocked, because fear blocks you, worry blocks you. So I'm going to talk to you about 7 ways to kind of really be in the flow. Yes, I want to keep it mostly not positive, but I want to just show you all the ways that that living in the flow brings for us. But do keep in mind that as long as you're in trauma survival response, it's going to be hard to let go and live in the flow. That's the short of it. And that is why I've had to work really hard on it's actually not even having to work really hard. It's actually a constant practice. I still don't work hard. That's also a masculine. I just used a masculine word for working really hard, but I still have my rituals and my practices that help me stay in the flow, in the moment, in the now, and really present and connected in my body. Flow is a choice, but it is also a practice. That was actually the first thing that came up when I was researching, is that flow is a choice. And I would argue that, I think if we like, do you want an easier way of life? Do you want to feel more joy? Do you want to feel more present? I think everybody would probably choose yes. So yes, it's a choice, but there needs to be some unpacking, some clearing. And then, of course, a practice. You have to practice. And especially if you've had childhood trauma, I don't know if you ever fully clear it, but you can take the wisdom, and then whatever pains, like, it's just going to keep you just have to keep practicing, whether you've had childhood trauma or not. And we're moving out of separation, which is all about, the collective is in separation. If you judge somebody, you're living in separation. If you're thinking that they're better than you, you're living in separation. This is not flow. This is stuckness. I know, I don't think that's a word, but that's stuckness is where we're going to be living. So living in alignment with the flow of life brings happiness and freedom. Duh, of course. That was the first thing when I was researching. It's like, yes, I would agree with that. Everyone has their own unique life flow. What I think is flow might not be what you think is flow. Like, I love to be busy and creating lots of things, and to me that's flow, as long as I don't feel stressed or get worrisome. But maybe for somebody else, flow is being in the forest, in the cabin, and well, this is hunky-dory. So we all have, oh my gosh, I don't know why all this language. I think I'm just channeling other kinds. I never say hunky-dory, just so everybody has their path, everybody has their flow. My sense of definition of flow is different from yours, but there's probably are similarities amongst a group of people, say. And when we are not in a flow, we're probably also not living our aligned path. And I used to love obituaries, and I love kind of reading what the regrets of the dying are. And guess what? One of the top 5 regret of the dying is not living a life that was true to them, living a life that was to lead to someone else's expectation, or to please them, or to, we all know that. I had to I went to 2 universities to do something that was not aligned for me. So maybe we have not all been there, but I have. And not only that, but I was actually really good at what I was not aligned for. So that kind of keeps you trapped into that, right? Because then it's like, I love this, I'm good at it. But if you start to, well, the universe will shift you slowly if it's in your cards, and you may not like the shifting. You may be like me, screaming and yelling and rampaging of the feet and arms everywhere. But here I am, and I'm also really happy to be here. So you can make or hinder moving into the flow. And it all depends on how much, as Tamra talks about nonstop, and me too, how much do you plug into the 3D and their expectations and the fears that you will not be okay. You will not be okay if you become a medical intuitive and a spiritual being, that you can't be successful at that. There's no regular paycheck. These are all the different fears that are plugged into us. And guess what? Dare I say, I make more money without my regular paycheck. What? Yes, you can say what too. So how do I feel really lucky that I got pushed into the path, but I would say many people, it takes lifetimes to find their aligned path, and maybe lifetime after lifetime. So I'm not sure what makes, I think there's always karma, and I think there's no coincidences. So I think this is where I was meant to be in this lifetime. And so here I am. Yeah, so oftentimes people don't even see the option. They just we're like machines. We just kind of maneuver in a non-awareness 95% of our life is led by the subconscious, when we're not even aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it. We don't even know the why. And I'm coming to the why. That's number 5. We're on number 2 now. Let's stay with number 2. Slow down, Ella. Okay. So getting to the flow is even what I just did. Sometimes I get really excited, blah, 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 and then it's that just taking the pause, no matter where you are, no matter how many people in front of you, and just bring your hands on your heart and bring you back to the moment. So it is a practice, especially if you're like me, you tend to get really excited, kind of fast too, and especially when you're talking about this stuff. Number 2 is flow is about living in harmony with you. There is no wrong, and then there's no right way to be. Goodness gracious, aren't we always worried about being the correct or pleasing or being the good one? How often do I clear the good girl archetype in my sessions? I don't have that today, but don't worry, I've got a lot of other juicy stuff today. But the basis of it is not feeling safe. And the basis beyond that, deeper than that, is not feeling loved or not feeling lovable. And then when we expand to 5D, then we just know that we are loved. It's interesting, isn't it? So we don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a certain way. You don't need to fit a certain box. Labels and boxes. I will be running that for you today. Very specific labels and boxes, though. Be true to you. You don't need to be vegan because the spiritual community is vegan. Like, how often do we even want to belong to something? We shift things that are not aligned for us. We don't even tune in. We just like, oh, I'm part of this group, so I need to do this. So how do we start to honor and listen to our being? Trust your gut. I will be running that. And that's really connecting to your gut, your heart, and your mind, and allowing that to flow. Actually, so much shifts just with that activation alone. So if you just want, you can run that every day too. If you get the recording, just put it to that spot and just play that. Unless you're a practitioner, then I think you guys can run it on yourself. So to live life in harmony with yourself and the universe. So first trusting yourself, and then trusting that the universe also has your back. And I think what's really important to mention here is when we are faced with challenges in the general, me too before, we think that, oh my God, I'm not supported. Oh my goodness, that door is closing. Oh, instead of thinking that we are being led to something better or something more aligned, or that there's some wisdom or lesson to learn. Don't we think automatically when something big change happens, or we lose a job, or this door closes, that, oh my gosh, I'm not good. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not supported by life. I think I am running. No, I think I took out, I have like 19 sacred activations, so I had to like let a few go today. So how do we move into the flow and trust that? Well, they're back to the trauma sexual response. We either go into flight, fight, fawn, or freeze. Yeah, I was gonna run. I had to discern which activations to run because there's so many. Yeah, exactly. Those are great ones as well. So until we start to feel safe in our body, in our world, any challenge, any shift, we will get panicky. We will like, oh my goodness, or oh my goddess. And that will block you. Any kind of worry, oh, that's coming up. Worry is a big blockage. We think, oh, I'm just worried about this. We just speak about it like it's nothing. Worrying is big. And how do we stay connected to our breath, to our awareness, to our body? And how do we continue to cultivate, I am safe, that the universe has my back? As long as you hold trauma and anger around any kind of abandonment or abuse or trauma, anytime, especially childhood, when we are confused from trauma, it is a hard one. It's like, it becomes, yeah, you'll just have more practice to do, which I know. That's why I get up at 5 a.m. to do my practices. And the latest I get up is 6 a.m. So it is possible. It does take a bit more effort, but I don't know. I think I'm worth the effort, and I think you are too. So make your practices yours. When one door closes, another one opens. Haven't we heard that? I don't know, even if you don't like Oprah, I'm gonna quote Oprah. Your job in life is to find your flow. This is a huge lesson for me. Everything else is gravy. Or have you heard everything else is just a moot point? Everything else is just a moot point. Focus on you finding your flow. Everything around you will shift. Oh yeah, healthy boundaries is a great one. Number 3, when in alignment with flow of life, fear and worry drop. So I already talked about the power of worry. And we just speak about these things like they're nothing. And yet we're blocking all the things from entering and leaving. So don't underestimate the power of worry. We already know the power of fear, but then there's some words and feelings that we kind of like, oh, I'm just worried. No, breathe. How can you feel safe in this moment? Because fear can stop you in your tracks. We already know that. Because we're living under the pressure of fear of the third dimension. And if you missed a few sessions ago, I talked about the astral cloud over the whole globe. Astral is all our emotional and mental samskaras and fears and traumas. And we're in the heaviness of that. And that's why the fear overwhelms us. Oh, the other emotion is overwhelm. How many spiritual people do I counsel with releasing overwhelm? I can't, I'm just too overwhelmed. You're worthy of the practices to shift out of that. And it does take time. Okay. When in a flow and alignment, fear has no place. Fear is there, like, if I know I'm in danger, of course. We want that fear. We want to know when there's an angry dog and we should run for the hills. But otherwise, we can be friends with fear. Just like we can be friends with the ego. Make your ego your amigo. So no longer live in fear. No one has hold over you. So how can we live in the 3D, but not plug into the 3D? How can we live in the now? That's where the practice is. Meditation is a practice. You don't get anywhere. There's nowhere, oh, I've arrived. No, meditation is a practice. So it is possible to live in the present moment and to be free of all the fears. Occasionally, sometimes like these next, sometimes I do get a little caught up because so much is going on at once. But then with my practices, you can still manage the flow. And here's the thing that I want you guys to understand about flow. It's not in my notes. Maybe I'll bring it up really quickly. It's not that you can't set goals or set intentions. I do. I set goals and intentions all the time. It's the place you're at when you're setting those goals and intentions. Like, are you in the moment? Are you in the feeling of joy? That's where you want to set your intentions from. Or are you like, I need this to make this money. I need this to survive. Is everything like a survival thing? Or is it about being in the present moment and setting the intention from there? Set goals. I set serious goals. I've got my goals for 2024. I have my vision board. I do all of that. By the way, I did my vision board on Canva. No more clippings, magazine pictures. So much is so easy for you. So much is readily available to help you align with your flow. And that could be different from my flow. Until we do, we're going to be struggling against the self, and we're going to be struggling against life. And that struggling against life is struggling that life is not working for me. Life is working against me. Well, guess what? Life is just waiting for you. Life is just waiting for you to surrender and let it happen the way it needs to happen for you. When truth flow is denied, that's when confusion. And I think it's really important. The first 7 years of our life, we are just eating things up subconsciously. Actually, even, of course, our whole life. But the first 7 years is when we get filled up with all the belief systems. Canva, Canva is the platform. I use it also for all my images for Instagram. Use Canva. It's great. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so heal your old wounds. It will take time. It may not be pretty. You don't need to go back to the event. You need to go back to the emotion. You need to just feel those feelings of being abandoned or being left behind or feeling unloved. And it's the disconnect from life that causes us to struggle, reject life, and resist life, and clutch to the pain. Don't we attach to the pain? In fact, well, that's a whole other thing. When I help people heal trauma, they feel a whole other grief and pain from letting go of the identity of the clutching. So it's like it is truly becoming a new human, a human that's more aligned, more lighter, more in the flow of all things. And then you learn to trust yourself. None of that, you learn to actually even feel. Like, like when you hear something, you'll contract or you'll expand. You'll say, oh, I don't feel that. It's a practice of awareness. It's a practice of awareness. Of course, maybe the first time you try it, you may not, but I absolutely do. Or if I said yes, something should have been a no, my team just constantly haggles me. So anyway, there's all the different ways as you kind of progress that you'll find your ways to stay in aligned life for you. The number 5, I did do number 4, I just may have not mentioned that it was number 4. Collective belief that we need to be massive producing machines, human machines, be more, do more. When I don't know if you guys know, but I do teach still a bit of yoga. And then when I do Shavasana, I often say when we're trying to cultivate that being state, we are not human doing, we're human beings. It's even in our name. We're not meant to be just work, 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 work. In fact, it's actually when I take that pause, oftentimes that more comes to me. It's like stepping away, especially if you're creative and you're like, you're always inspired to do more and more. It's not wrong, but then also taking that step away or that pause, whoa, you can create a lot of magic. This can take us, but when we're just doing, forcing, I'm attaching to this, I'm attaching to that. Have your goals, but stay anchored within the present moment. So you don't get further away from yourself, further away from the flow. Let's start to listen to your inner guidance, start to listen to your inner direction. For example, there is something that I do now. And I remember my one friend, is muscle testing now. She goes, no, it's 38%. And I knew in my heart that it's something that I wanted to do. And I'm still doing it. And I'm so glad I listened to me. This is when your discernment, I always say discernment is a really big spiritual word. And it really is. Because how do you discern even when your friend is muscle testing was something I asked her actually to muscle test for it, but then I still knew in my heart that I needed to go for that. And I did. And I'm so glad I did. Number 6 is follow your intuition. Well, guess what intuition is? Intuition is feminine. Intuition is being in the flow. Intuition is opening up to the unknown. And most importantly, intuition is trust. Because yes, you know how when I'm with new students or people are building their intuition, they say, how do I know it's not me that's speaking? Well, that's where the practice comes in. You start to discern. Because it is like a thought. It's like a thought that answers you. It answers you. So how do you discern and you know that that is your intuition? That is your team. And especially when my team has grown, and now it's like, which one of you guys is giving me this advice? So you can work with it, develop it, and be in the flow of the trust and know that you're so guided within you to live the best life outside of you that is aligned, passionate, and grace, full of grace. Don't let the ego will stop you in your tracks as well. Have the ego to get out of bed and do what you need to do. So trust your gut, get into the flow of knowing. Do you constrict or expand when you're making a decision? I already talked about this. The more you listen, the more you'll evolve in the dynamic process of co-creation with the universe. I gotta tell you, I'm in the whirlwind right now. There's things that are happening that I didn't even put on any intention board. It's nowhere. It's just flying at me. And this is why my rituals are even more important, because it was my intention to have greater impact. But then when it's all coming at me like a snowstorm, how do I handle it? Well, I need to continue my practices. So I handle it with grace and ease, and still in the true intention of service. So easy to move into the ego, guys. Be so careful. Notice, that's where staying meditation, energy healings, stay in the present moment. You don't want to get into the ego. Then the whole intention of why whatever it is that you're doing will not serve its essence. You still might be popular, but it will not serve its essence. Okay. So you open up to your truth and to your gut the more you have the practices. Number 7. Oh, I love how I'm right on point with everything. This is a rare moment where I'm not rushing at the end. Number 7, when you surrender to the flow of life, it will be scary at first, like really, really scary. To let go to the unknown is not what we're taught, even if you had no trauma in your life, which I don't believe there's anybody that has not had no trauma in their life. Surrendering to the unknown is super not in our any kind of teaching or modeling that we've had in our life. So how do we surrender to the flow of life? It will absolutely be scary. So learning to breathe through that, and life will unfold more coherently from one phase to another. Yeah, and trust, absolutely. But I also recommend that you continue support. I have several people that I go to weekly, because if I'm going to be of service, I also need to serve myself. I'm like the top machine, like the different kinds of cars. Don't judge me, but I love Porsches. So I'm like my favorite color of Porsche, and I'm going to treat it the best way I can with the best gas, which would be the best people in my community that are helping me. So you and life are moving as one. There's no friction, there's no force. There's only flow, and then there's trust. Not only that, a few weeks ago, I got denied something that I really wanted. I won't lie to you. For a moment, I got a little bit into that pattern, but then I breathed and then I expanded. Like, it's once you have your practices going, then even when you have a disappointment or even something doesn't go your way, you'll just trust that it's not the right time, or something else is there for me, or you'll just trust whatever it is that needs to happen. For me, I think it just wasn't the right time. But I think it still will happen. It was not the right time. Okay, I'm gonna close off with an Oprah quote. I gotta tell you a story about Oprah really quickly. We have a moment. Somebody asked her, how do you go into a boardroom full of men as a Black woman? This is before there were, all the diverse people and all the roles. And this is what she said on an interview. She said, well, when I walk into the room, I'm not just walking as me. I just got goosebumps. I'm walking with all my ancestors behind me. And we are all walking to a room full of men and whatever else that I'm sure there was racism and whatnot. So you're never alone. You're always supported. And that reminds me, not just by life, but by all your ancestors and beyond. And then your team, like my team has gotten so big, your team will just get bigger the more you trust, the more you believe in them, and you kind of do cultivate a relationship. All right, last quote is with Oprah. I trust the ebb and flow of the universe. I trust that life's bigger than what I can see. I trust there's divine order beyond my control. I trust that no matter what happens, I will be all right. And yeah, divine order, trusting the divine order. I don't know if we're allowed questions. Okay. I think I'll leave it there because there's a lot I want to provide with the sacred activations portion for this. Let's begin the healing, the sacred activations. You can sit or lay down. I do recommend that if you're new or if you're sensitive to energy, that you have your feet on the ground. That will help you. So sit or lay down and just take a few expansive breaths. And let every exhale bring you further into your body. And then on the next exhale, make your way down, down, down through all the layers of Mother Earth until you get to the heart of Mother Earth. And it's in that place of the heart of Mother Earth where you're basking in the divine feminine, divine holding and grounding. Give yourself full permission to receive. Know that you are worthy of living the life that when you're on your dying bed, you feel like, wow, no regrets. Give yourself full permission to receive and know that you are worthy to do so. And let's begin with 0 to 7. Accept to receive. And this is, this clears all the emotions that you've picked up, including confusion, if you've had a lot of trauma in childhood. Emotions or any belief systems that you've taken on that are affecting how you see your worth. Until you clear this, and then next sacred activation, it's going to be hard to move on as long as your inner parts, especially your childhood inner parts, are still crying and lonely and feeling unloved. And on top of that, I'll add inner child wound release. And we clutch to this pain. Why? Back to the confusion of the child. We clutch to the pain because they are so confused and they just like, it's what they've known, is what you've known for years. So how can you begin to let that go and help your inner child feel safe? Self-sabotage release, clearing all ancestral and current life beliefs that everything in life has to be hard and a struggle. This activation allows you to free yourself of all aspects of self-sabotage in love, relationship, success, business, career, finance, and create that balance and harmony within yourself. Because all success is a reflection, a ripple effect from what's within you. And I'm going to run this on your past and present and future, and also the group's consciousness, the unconscious, all your chakras, and even on your sacred blueprint. It's actually a lot of past life clearing. Addiction redirection, sacred activation. This is actually all about cultivating self-love. So think about in your mind, and each time you listen, you can have a different intention. What self-sabotaging pattern are you ready to clear? This could be reactivity, this could be anger. It doesn't have to be an action. It could also be emotional eating or ways that you are keeping yourself from thriving within your being. Emotional eating is just filling the voids of emotions. So as I run addiction redirection, it's running now. What are you wanting to clear, to cultivate self-care, to cultivate self-love, and to cultivate ease and grace within your being? And I want to run addiction redirection also on your past, present, and future, past life, all your chakras, and your sacral blueprint. Dying to be me, clearing all old limiting beliefs and emotions, keeping you from your light and your authenticity. As long as you are not living in your flow and your truth, you're also not living in your authenticity, which means you're playing a role all the time, which is exhausting, like exhausting. And the irony of that is the world needs you. There's no one else like you. I'm going to stack on that deepest dark secret. So this will keep you in shame. So any kind of mistake or something that happened, doesn't have to be a mistake, something that happened to you as a child that you're still hiding or feeling shame for. That's still playing out in the background, probably eating you, like it's eating up alive, like from the inside. It's worse guilt or shame. So you don't need to share it, but I want you to think of the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be a few things. So we need to clear first before we fill you up with all the stuff to the flow. We need to clear the dark, heavy things. Deepest dark secret. Accept to receive. What's on your mind that you're ready to let go of? the sky is falling. It kind of goes back to not trusting the universe or that the universe has your back. Or, anything that happens to us, we actually create on some level. So running the sky is falling is something always happening that creates fear within you. Clear the belief that there's danger around the corner and free you from fear associated with it. I'm also going to run with this. I'm going to stack fight or flight and nervous system upgrade with this. So I'm going to be quiet for about 2 minutes. Fight or flight release. Nervous system upgrade. Need to know. How many things do you need to know at one time out of the need to know stems our lack of faith that the creator, the universe, whatever you call your God, has your back. And it's all stems from not feeling safe, really. So I'm going to stack I am safe with need to know. I am safe. Put your hands on your heart and really say, I am safe. Don't just let the activation run, but consciously give yourself full permission to receive this and know in every cell of your being that you are in fact safe. Competition, lack, and limitation disconnects you from competition, lack, and limitations, knowing that you have everything you need, desire, and that there's plenty to go around. Divine feminine, masculine integration, balancing out both the masculine and the feminine, as you absolutely need both. Even to be in the flow, you need both. A balance of both. Gonna stack divine order, just really just trusting to get to let go to the divine order of things, and twists and turns of life, which just gives you the peace and the capability to go with the flow of life and navigate the twists and turns that come your way. Accept to receive. As above, so below, knowing that you're supported both above and below. Accept to receive. I'm going to stack the next two. Buddha's compassion, opening up to gratitude and deep compassion. I love this one. And happiness, which is finding that, almost like that essence of joy, where you're just happy for no reason, because life, knowing that life is working for you and appreciating every moment and every part of it as it is. Whoa. That's also living in the flow, is letting go of the gripping of how things should be. So it's called witnessing. So how can we just witness life as it needs to be without needing to be any different? So as a, Buddha's compassion and happiness, accept to receive. And the last activation, before I run a few just to help with the integration, I'll do those quietly, is arms wide open. Open your arms wide to all that is known and to all that is unknown. And trust that you are supported above, below, behind, in front, and most importantly, within yourself. Arms wide open to receive. Stay true, tap into your intentions and always stay connected to your why. Why? Why am I doing this? Why is this happening? When you stay connected to your why, you'll stay on your path. It's not always the what. Often it's the why. The energies are going to continue to run. So a few of them, well, the integration may even take months. But the running may be a few days to a few hours. Make your way down to the heart of Mother Earth and just bask in the love, the grounding, the healing energy of divine feminine mother. The one that will always hold you, Mother Earth, Father Sky. And then make your way up to your heart center. Just take a few breaths, expanding in your chest cavity. And repeat this out loud, is actually better. I am fully back into my body, fully grounded, supported, and in the flow of life. I am fully back into my body, fully grounded, supported, and in the flow of life. I am fully back into my body, fully grounded, supported, and in the flow of life. Take a few expansive breaths and start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And when you are ready, you may open up your eyes. And that completes this times session. Thank you so much for all of you that are showing up live. And then all the ones that are watching the recording. If you have any questions or feedback, please reach out to me or Tamra. As always, it is my honor, my greatest pleasure. Much love.